If you're looking for a fun survival-based game with satisfying combat, base building, and progression, while also getting to play out your fantasies of being Dio or some of the powerful vampires in Castlevania, as long as you know these three don't show up, then you should check out V Rising. We're going to break down everything you need to know about V Rising to help you decide if this game is for you. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. Let's go ahead and break down the survival mechanics of this game and see exactly what that looks like. So as mentioned before, you're playing as a vampire, which comes with its own set of difficulties. You have to avoid sunlight unless you want to die. So if you're moving out in the daytime, you got to jump from shade to shade to shade, or just wait till nighttime. You also have to feed on living creatures to be able to continue to live. That could be people, or that could be animals. Really anything with blood. But honestly, I really like what they did with this. Every living creature that you can take blood from has blood properties. So each human or creature fits into their own archetype. Being super creative, like being a creature, or, being a rogue or a brute or whatever other classes you could give to humans, essentially. And then alongside the property in general, that blood also has a quality percentage. So essentially, whenever you feed off of certain living creatures, you're going to get a certain type of buff for the duration of having the blood type. For instance, if you take the blood type of a rogue and you get to a threshold of about 10%, you're only going to get the first buff shown on the HUD of what rogues get. So that might be a small buff like 10% movement speed or 10% crit chance, things kind of like that. But it's honestly a really fun aspect of this game because it incentivizes you to actually go and hunt for the specific blood that you would like for your character. And while hunger isn't really something super specific to this game, for survival games, take like Minecraft for instance, any action can drain some of your hunger, and then all you gotta do is just eat food. And while there are some hidden mechanics of like what saturates your hunger bar more so that you don't have to eat as quickly, I just like that V Rising gives a little bit more of an interesting spin on this mechanic that you find in a lot of different survival games. And it fits really well with, obviously, the theme of vampires. But beyond this, the game has a lot of survival mechanics you're kind of used to seeing by now. You collect resources by harvesting materials such as like cutting down trees to get lumber, breaking stones to get stones, and things like that you eventually use those resources to build your base or craft materials, armor, weapons, etc. Overall, honestly, survival games are kind of a hit or miss for me. It really just depends on what the gameplay loop is like, and if I find that satisfying. And I was glad to say that V Rising isn't something that takes absolutely forever to be able to progress, especially if you play with friends. And even if not, I honestly don't find it incredibly cumbersome to be able to progress in this game. And I find the combat really fun. And speaking of which, that's the next topic I really wanted to bring up here. So V Rising was created by the same studio that made Battlerite, if you're familiar with that. Battlerite was the 3v3 MOBA that kind of cut out a lot of the longer form format, if you will, of a MOBA. It was all just focused around fighting and combat, right from the get-go. And honestly, I felt like the fighting was very good in the game, which you would hope so if the whole game is based around that. But you can definitely see a lot of the influences from Battlerite in this game with the combat. And that's, again, a good thing. What's cool is each of the weapon types that you get to use in the game all have their own unique playstyle. If you prefer to use like the swords in this game, it's going to be a very different playstyle from somebody that's going to use like a club or a mace. Each weapon has its own set attack speed and attack power. So almost like, say for instance, like another comparison is Skyrim, where swords attack a little bit faster but do a little bit less damage. Axes do more damage, but you swing them a little bit slower, and then the maces are the ones that do the most damage of the one-handed weapons, but they swing the slowest. Same sort of format follows here, but there's more weapon types in the game. Then on top of that, each weapon has its own abilities. What you're seeing right now in the background is early-ish game footage, but we see that when you use the sword, you become a Beyblade whenever you press Q, just like Garen in League. Whenever you use the axes, you have this sweep that goes in front of you, and if you hit something, you get some attack speed for a little while. Then with the club, you're going to do like a jumping slam attack, which knocks enemies away from you, and that's just a little snapshot. Also, because this is early game, I only have one weapon ability, but later on you get two. But again, I just really enjoy the fact that this game allows for multiple different playstyles, and you're not really locked into like one weapon type. Say you like 3 of them, you can have all 3 on your hotbar, and there's no issue with that. Another fun aspect of combat is that you have spells that you can use right from the beginning of the game. Usually you get to have 2 unlocked at the same time and then an ultimate ability. And the only way for you to get new spells is by taking down different bosses in a blood hunt. So after you start building your base, you're going to put down a blood altar. That blood altar will let you hunt specific targets with specific blood properties. If you go and hunt down that boss, when you kill them, you can drain their blood and then you get an ability. For example, the very first one that you take down is an alpha wolf. When you take down the alpha wolf, then you get a wolf form that you can turn into, which lets you move around the map a little bit faster. but most other ones are going to be actually in the form of, say, a combat spell that you get to use from now on. And just the combination of being able to mix and match these spells to where you can make some synergy in the way that you approach combat, say you really like freezing an area, then you can get a lot of frost spells to freeze really all of your enemies and keep them crowd controlled. You can just go for the biggest damage just to knock people away and blow them up. Honestly, there's a lot of variety and there's not really a wrong answer. But I do also like that this blood hunt system makes it to where this is how you really progress forward in the game. This is how you get your alternate abilities, and it also is how you get additional research. This research usually translates into new craftable locations you can put down in your base to be able to craft new items, and just again lets you jump forward to the next stage of progression. I think this is great because a lot more people like combat than, say, survival mechanics in a lot of games. But say you're here to see what the building is like. I honestly did find it enjoyable, but it's not as like demanding, I guess, if you will, from, say, a game like Minecraft for a comparison, where you're gonna put down each individual block of your structure, and that's how you're gonna build your base. V-Rising really just lets you build your territory and snap together panels, and then you can place decorations within those panels. What I mean by that is you can put down certain types of flooring and walls to be able to create your structure, and the roof will automatically be created once you basically wall off an entire room and have some floors in there. But honestly, I still found it satisfying. Of course, like those other games, you have to collect the resources to be able to put down said walls or floors or whatever decorations you have. But honestly, they did a really good job with making it look cool. And on top of that too, you can go crazy with the decorations if you want to. But just know it is a little more limited than, say, if you're looking for something like base building in like Minecraft like we talked about before. But I do like this because I find it more accessible for people that might not like building as well. They can make something look cool just by putting down the walls and floors and just calling it good. One of the things that I appreciate too is that V-Rising offers both PvP and PvE to any player. Personally, I have not touched the PvP because I'm scared. I don't love the idea of people being able to siege my base when I'm offline. But I know that some people live for that stuff and they really enjoy it. So I can't really speak to the standpoint of, is the PvP balanced, is it fun, because I haven't touched it. But I have played PvE by myself and also with a friend, and honestly, I find it super fun. That being said, I haven't played through everything that's available right now because this game is in early access and not completely finished. But I've put a good chunk of hours in, and I honestly still really enjoy this game and I'm excited to go back and play it. But just know that if you are somebody that really enjoys PvP, that's there for you as well. And that might make it to where the game doesn't get stale for you if you do enjoy that. And yes, that does include destroying people's stuff. But I really wanted to make a point here too with just the fact that this game is also in early access. I know that sometimes this is a really polarizing topic, and usually I err on the side of not supporting early access games. But there are a couple that I really do enjoy and have enjoyed my time on. V-Rising, of course, being one of them, or else, this video wouldn't exist. But I do think it's important to obviously be critical about these sort of things before you jump and make the purchase with these early access games. Watch some videos, see if some friends already have the game, let them get suckered into it before you. Or just let some dumb guy on the internet do it for you. I feel like it's not uncommon that most people have probably been burnt by now by buying a game too early and then really regretting that choice. But honestly, what I've seen in V-Rising so far, especially for the price that it is, I feel like this game is totally worth it. It's only $20 on Steam, and I think that honestly it deserves to be a higher price than that. It's a lot of fun, there's a lot of content, and they're still coming out with more. Even if they stopped production right now and left it as is, I'd still be happy with my purchase. So buy the games for what they already are as a product rather than what they've promised. That's a really good sentiment to follow, because otherwise you might look like an idiot and end up buying a game that really sucks and doesn't have any end game, and it's only fun for the first 3 hours, but then you'll make a video in those first 3 hours of you playing that game and saying that you really enjoy it and make yourself look like a total dumbass. Oh wait, no, that's just me. But I still thought it was important to bring up. You don't have to veto all early access games as long as it's a product that you're happy with at the time of purchase, not for what it's gonna be. But honestly, I feel like that's pretty much what you need to know about V-Rising to be able to jump into this. So let me know if it's interesting enough for you to pick it up. Also, if you play, let me know what your favorite weapon is, or maybe your top 3 or whatever you can decide on. I personally love the axes and the slashers. Also, I'd really appreciate it if you leave a like if you enjoyed the video or it helped you out. Maybe send this video to a friend. I think it's more fun to play this together. And then if you like more videos in this format to let you know and hopefully save you money in case a game isn't for you, or maybe give you a recommendation of a game that you haven't really had on your radar, hit that subscribe button. I'll be making more content like this. But that's gonna be it from me, so I'll see you all in the next video.